We are here for a film and pop culture weekly. I am sylabdul, joined by my co-host and retro extraordinaire, retro nerd girl. How you doing today?
Very good. How are you?
I'm doing great. My phone always rings when as soon as I start recording. But we're here for the show. Definitely, this show was an interesting journey to get to this show because I've been trying to work with retro for a couple years now, and it just really we recently did the watch party for Rebel Moon Part 2,
Yes.
and I was just like, oh yeah, I was like, we need to talk more movie stuff, and you were saying you were kind of trying to talk about more news and pop culture yourself, kind of regularly.
Yeah, I was doing a bit of that on my channel, and I probably will eventually have sort of a modern, like a place where I could talk about modern things and length. But right now, I thought that it would be nice to kind of, when you talked about wanting to do something, I said, why don't we do it together? Because I do love your channel, and I do. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I wish I was on there. I wish I could talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
So,
definitely.
yeah, this is great.
No, this really is helping me though. Like everyone I've been kind of working with more recently, it's different topics, different things I want to touch on, and so with y'all help and with your help with this, it's helped me kind of break that ground as well too. So I
Oh yeah,
appreciate it.
anything to help you out because
Definitely.
you've helped me, I think, in many ways.
Thank you.
When we needed somebody to talk about stuff that nobody else was talking about, we had you. So,
Yeah.
anything I can do to help.
All right, that sounds great. Well, there's a handful of topics we want to touch on, and so we're just going to jump right into
Oh yeah,
this kind
let's do it.
this kind of came in breaking news today. Mr. Zack Snyder himself dropped the first look at Twilight of the Gods, an animated Netflix series coming this fall. Retro excitement level for this, and have you kind of heard any little tidbits about this?
Well, my excitement level is at, score from 1 to 10. It's at a 20. I really want to see this. This looks really, really good. And, I don't know how this happened, but a whole bunch of people were criticizing Zach uh, for being too diverse, which is really weird and strange. But yeah, but this is a Norse story. So this is really like very specific, and I am looking very forward to this. I know that he is probably going to show us a lot of detail about the culture, and I'm fascinated by this. Absolutely.
Definitely. Like you mentioned, it's Norse mythology. So you have those classic, I guess, Greek gods. Like when people hear some of these names, they'll be like, "Oh yeah, like there's a Odinson, there's a
Hmm.
Loki, there's
Hmm.
those types of And according to some of the contributors and writers, they said this is typical Zack Snyder, like wild animation. It's gonna be insane. So the
Yeah,
prospects
yeah,
of this is pretty cool.
yeah. And I think sometimes the format of animation really gives way to more allowance for creativity that's way out there. So maybe people weren't, really down with his live action stuff. Maybe the animation might be just up their alley. And I think, just from looking at this image already, I mean, it just looks fascinating. I want to know more. I want to know more. And also, I do know that this is a project that Zach has been working on for a long time. He was talking about this for as a long, long, long time. So I'm really,
Mhm.
really interested to see what this is going to be.
Yeah, definitely. We're waiting on those. Any other details they give us with this? We're approaching, summertime, so the fall's not too
Yeah.
far behind. So, like I said, I'm sure when we hear something, Retro will be like, "Hey, let's talk about this," and so we will at that time. Now, one thing I think people are talking about with Zack Snyder right now is Rebel Moon, right?
Hmm.
Rebel Moon Part 1 and 2.
Yes.
Now, we saw part 1 and 2, the PG-13 cuts, but these R-rated versions, you kind of mentioned people have some interesting thoughts about Zack's
Mhm.
uh, live action stuff.
Yes.
Though he has a pretty dedicated fan base, but these alternate cuts retro seems to be what I think everyone's waiting on, even if they don't like these current cuts, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's a definite sense and a feel that I think the biggest problem with people accepting or watching these movies are those moments when they're probably thinking, "Hey, there could have been, and we're pretty sure something else happened here," and
Mhm.
or we're pretty certain that some more blood and and gore or something like weird happened here. We cut away from things very quickly. And so
Mhm.
it just makes your mind think like, okay, that scene could have been something else in the rated version, and I'm just looking forward to seeing what that's about. So I myself personally am loving Rebel Moon 1 and 2. I know it's not for everyone, but I
Mhm.
think the rated R version might be the ticket. As
Yeah.
far as it is Zach's true vision of what this was supposed to be. And I think, Netflix may have gotten a little afraid and just were like, okay, well, let's try to see if we can do this PG-13 thing. Whether it was a
Uh,
good idea or not is, irrelevant at this point. We're getting the R-rated version.
mhm.
And there's a possibility we could get a Rebel Moon 3 because the story is not done yet. And there are a lot of people who have watched Rebel Moon 1 and 2.
Mhm.
So this is and are still watching. So if there was no interest in the franchise, then people
Mhm.
wouldn't be watching. And that's not what they're doing. They're doing the complete
Mhm.
opposite. So there may be more. There may be a lot more on the way.
Definitely, definitely. As you mentioned, like the interest overall with Rebel Moon, the franchise overall, the part 2 just came out. That's number 1, on
Mhm.
Netflix.
Yep.
And then that influenced people to go back and watch part 1. That ended up
Yes.
number 5, right,
Yes.
on the weekly list, which I think is really impressive. Netflix is all over the world, over 270 million subscribers, and to get people's attention to go back to part 1, I think that's impressive for the
Yeah,
franchise.
I think so too. And even, Zach is encouraging this on his social media posts. And I think that could be, something you watch one and then you watch two. Actually, the first time I watched two, I watched the first one a few hours before just to familiarize myself with what
Mhm.
was going on. And I think that's probably the best way to watch it, to watch both of
Mhm.
them together. And who knows? Like, I mean, this is you don't just watch. I think the numbers speak for themselves, right?
Mhm.
If you could look at any metric, the number itself is definitely speaking for how much people are
Yeah.
enjoying it versus the people who seem to be the loudest on the internet that don't like it.
Well, that's what I learned on the internet. Like, yes, the loudest people are usually the ones that don't like something. But uh, overall, are people watching this or not? Right? Are they engaging with Netflix? And so we're
Mhm.
seeing, again, both titles are. And then with the alternate cuts, again, if people feel like they're missing out or there's something different there, Zach
Yeah.
is giving little tidbits about it that, hey, this is really gonna be wild. These R-rated cuts, like
Oh.
I remember in part 1, one criticism, because even though we like both of the films, we can have constructive criticism
Mhm.
as well. It's possible out there, but in part 1, in that barn scene when Cora just wrecks shop on everyone,
Yeah.
you just see when they cut away
Yes.
from some of these headshots, and Zach's like, "No, you're going to see like heads explode and stuff." So
Yes, I mean, that's probably going to be the wildest part about it. I'm actually very pleased that it's not just the same scenes, but told in a different, told with more violence. It's a different story too. And so
mhm,
with those changes, you definitely feel like you're getting something a little bit more like than just, oh, the same story, but now it's just rated R. No, we're
mhm,
getting a full blast of a new piece of content, and that's
mhm.
exciting for me. I love this kind of stuff,
Yeah.
and it's hyped up. It's hyped up, and so I think that's another reason why a lot of these articles are sort of all in unison saying the same thing. It this hype is just too much. They have to take advantage of that clickable stuff, that's clickable. If you can, if
Mhm,
you can lambast a movie, it will definitely make it very clickable for your content, and you'll get views and you'll get more money. And so the other piece to it is that going all the way back to when I was a kid, a lot of
mhm,
franchises that people love today were absolutely looked at and laughed at constantly, like Star Trek.
mm.
I remember when people would laugh at the science, that it was make believe and garbage, and we were all nerds for liking it. 2001: A Space Odyssey, people said it was boring, and they
Mm,
didn't understand what it was. And Kubrick was on, must have been on drugs when he made that movie. Um, they did not understand or like Blade Runner. It was boring to them. These are movies that bombed at the box office too. So
mhm,
this is the kind of stuff that kind of happens all the time. After a while, people start to get more vocal about how they feel about
mhm.
content, and actually like say, hey, well, you know what, actually this is pretty good. uh
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know
I find it interesting too because as far as like appreciating things like people always talk about the Star Wars prequels, where everyone hated Hayden Christensen and
oh yes.
Anakin, and then like I guess a generation later or 10 years later or whatever, or probably like 20 in this case, but um like he is beloved, and
Mm,
despite what people say about Star Wars, and even some of my fandom menace friends out there that's trashing Disney Star Wars, they
yes.
appreciated seeing Hayden come back, after the fact. And so I think with Zack Snyder, you could ask anyone today. I find it overwhelming now, in a good way.
Mhm.
If you ask people what they think about 2013 Man of Steel, I rarely find someone that says, "Oh, I didn't like that." Like they're like, "That was a good movie." Like that
Yeah,
was a good
yeah,
movie. So
yeah.
exactly ahead of his time is the point.
I think so. I think so. I think that's what
Right.
what we're dealing with here. This is really content that in 20 years, I call it a cult classic already, an instant cult classic, because it is a niche market, science fiction, and it's still getting views. I mean, can you
Mhm.
explain why something that was horrible would get so many views, um, and continue to get views? So obviously somebody's liking it.
Exactly. And as far as with Zach, and another thing, Christopher Nolan made that same comment of, ahead of his time. He talked about Watchmen, Zack Snyder's Watchmen,
Ooh, yes.
and that's, Nolan's a good friend of Zach. And so they, conversed about that. And it just, Christopher Nolan says Zack Snyder is the blueprint to this current generation of the superhero genre. That's what Nolan said. I'm just some fan out here. This is the great Christopher Nolan saying that.
Yeah, yeah. I
Don't be
mean,
mad at me. I'm just saying out there. But that gets a response out of people. But
mhm,
a few things with Rebel Moon again. I think the chances for part 3 is really good. And as far as what I heard, and actually, if people find my channel and they are Snyder fans, Snyderverse Mondays is a thing that I'm doing
Ooh.
where it's going to be plenty to talk about with Zack Snyder, his projects and stuff like that. So I'm really excited for that. But this past Monday, well, before Monday, but I heard basically if and when they greenlight the sequels to Rebel Moon, that it will be 3 and 4 at the same time. It will be a
Oh.
double. It will be a double thing.
Oh,
So
nice. Oh,
that's
nice.
what I'm hearing. I think the
Yeah.
chances are really good.
Mhm.
So we're just going to keep watching it.
Now I
Keep
have a
those numbers.
question for you. Do you
Mhm,
think that they're going to actually announce that after the rated R version is released? Would that
mhm.
make sense to do that? Or, I mean, would it be too
Yeah.
early to announce it now?
That's what I'm leaning on is
Mhm.
because I didn't get an indication of when they would announce it, but I did say to consider, this is kind of I don't say like a test that Netflix is doing,
Ah,
but they wanted to make this franchise, a new franchise. They want to make it accessible as possible. So that's the PG-13 cuts.
yes.
And then you do the full rated R. Uh, they want to see the viewership of that
Mhm.
because Zach has plans, for this story can continue in both versions.
Yeah. Mhm.
According to Zach, there's things obviously that happens in the R-rated cut because it's an hour longer that doesn't happen in the PG-13 cut. But what really threw me for a loop, Retro, is that
Mhm.
Zach said there are things that happen in the PG-13 cut that doesn't happen
I
in the
know.
R-rated cut. Somebody
I'm
say, "What
wondering
you up to?"
I wonder if some people die, more people die in that one. Oh my god.
Yeah, or some people's theories are, if it's like an alternate story, like maybe some people survive. Like now,
Oh,
if people saw mine and Retro's watch party, and we did our reaction, to the movie right after that,
yeah.
I might have to release a clip of that because we had a really good conversation with that. And one criticism I said I needed more Charlie Hunnam, so I was like, what if Zach like had him survive to part 2? Just ideas.
Ooh.
All
Yeah, yeah. That would be so cool, actually.
that
Uh,
really would.
yeah. And also, I mean, there's so much, but we'll definitely have to wait for the rated R version to come out to see what that's all about. But I think in the meantime, I might pick up the book um, just just to
Mhm.
get familiar with everything because it looks like the book has a lot of information that we learned from Neo Sevens Marcus,
Yeah.
and it was very thank you Marcus for being there with us and filling us on all that
Right.
stuff because it was just wonderful to know that there's a very deep backstory to this movie and this world, this new universe that we're exploring and I love it. I love it so much, very, very much.
Yeah. Yeah. So it feels like, and hopefully we're just getting started with the Rebel Moon franchise. And like I said, Zack Snyder and his crew, they're ready. They're ready, man. And I think Netflix is interested. It's all about the performance. And right
Yeah,
now, so far, so good, you
yeah.
know, uh, overall with that. So we shall see. I'm gonna bounce over to Zach's old stopping grounds, Warner Brothers.
Oh, boy.
We have David Zaslav here. Uh, gave himself a raise, Retro.
Yeah.
If you, with this news here, people realized they had the writer strike, the actor strike, and there was a lot that happened with the industry.
Mhm.
Kind of surprising to hear that there's a raise, and I believe it's about 10. He's making 10 million more than he did from the time that he closed the merger deal.
Mm,
Um, and this smells fishy to a lot of people. People are wondering, what does this really mean overall? There's been a lot of rumors about the future of Warner's, but I'm going to give
yes.
Warner Bros. A little credit,
Yeah.
because I know people are probably going to attack me for saying this, but that according to reports, they as an international like film studio, they're the
Mhm.
first studio this year so far to cross $1 billion in the box office.
Okay.
they are looked at as being on a rebound.
Yeah.
So maybe the optimism is going over directly to the CEO or no one else. But Retro, what do you think with Zaslav and that? Hey, maybe they're feeling good. I don't, who knows? Warner Brothers.
Yeah, I mean, whatever he's doing with the board, I mean, he is definitely performing magic with them. And we're not necessarily privy to it all, but with Barbie doing very well, and a lot of other movies that weren't superhero movies that required over $200 million, they did very well. They did very,
Yeah,
very well. Dune was another one that really pushed them over the top.
that's over
So
700 million in the box office. Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, and they also did Wonka. So
Wonka's over 600 million. Yep.
this all you know elevated their standing, upgraded them in the public eye once again. But again, the superhero $200 million movies plus
Mm-hmm.
what was the thing that was weighing them down. And so
Mm-hmm.
with him showing, and I think it's almost luck to I didn't think it was anything he did, but it's almost luck that those were already in the making and already going to
Mm-hmm.
be successful. The fact that they spent about 100 million, I believe, for these in general. They did not spend more
Yeah,
than
uh,
a hundred
approximately. They didn't
around that,
they
right?
didn't get over like 120. So yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and so that is sort of the model of, like,
yep.
where they should be playing. They should not be, doing these exorbitant cost for movies that they're hoping to get billions of dollars back on, and that was their failure way, 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 way back during the
Mm-hmm.
days of Batman v Superman and Justice League. So,
Mm-hmm.
that is pretty much one of the reasons why I think he's impressing his bosses, if you will, because
Mm-hmm.
he's been able to um, I don't know. I think it's luck because
It is
I
like
think it's
yeah,
luck. I really think it's luck because those were already in play before he got there. Um,
right. You
and
mentioned like
so
Barbie. Yeah, that
Barbie,
was a big one.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so and Dune was gonna happen. And
Mm-hmm.
so, um, he's just getting a nice little paycheck before, he moves on to the next thing, if he does decide to move on to the next thing.
This is a grand hustle, right? Is what I would call this. What Zatzov is doing, and I like how you say it's kind of like he lucked out because the Barbie phenomenon, like you said, that was already in the shoot. Before he even got into the building, that
Mhm.
was executed by Greta Gerwig and her team, and Margot Robbie, Lucky Chap Productions, all them. So look,
Mhm.
that's a funny name, Lucky Chap. That's Zaz's Lucky, but so that's one thing, that phenomenon, and then they had the CinemaCon event last week
Mhm.
in Vegas where Warner Bros. Paraded, like you mentioned, those films, Doom Part Two, um, uh, Wonka. They even Godzilla Kong.
Oh, yeah,
That's a
yeah, yeah,
budget
yeah.
that's like 150, and that's may end up being the most. It's going to push over 600 million, which would be the highest grossing Godzilla and or Kong film ever.
Yes.
Um, that's what, and this is all happening on the Zaz's watch. Now I know a lot of people have feelings about Zaz's decisions, and specifically with DC
Yes.
and the disaster of 2023 and the DC box office.
Yes.
But you know, again, at the end of the day, Zaslav, he is beholden to the board, and they see, as I mentioned, the box office. They're on a great start for this year. A lot of people will credit Legendary more because they're
Yes.
partnered with Dune. But hey, this is good business. As Retro is that's the point. Is that it's the numbers that's talking, and he's trying to keep this rolling through
Ex
next year and that Superman film.
Yeah, exactly, and this is actually what a lot of other studios should also look at as far as the model going forward. The spend a medium amount on the film, let creators do what they do, and
Mhm.
and let it go from there. The big issue is at some point they were losing really great directors because of some of their actions. And so
Mhm.
as you can see, um, this is really making a big difference for Barbie and for um, Dune being
Mhm.
held by these incredible directors. And then we have Joker 2 coming out, which is
Right.
there, that is expected to really get a lot of people through the door and into the theaters, just out of curiosity, if anything.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, going off the strength, that previous Oscar nominations and wins for the first Joker film. Joaquin Phoenix got the actor award. Todd Phillips was nominated for best film and director. He didn't win that, but just being in that talk,
Hmm.
that's going to give the sequel a lot of buzz. And then you add Lady Gaga, who's a powerhouse.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, and
and, yeah.
I think people are also just gonna go to see uh, the the connection and the way that the two actors are communicating with each other. It seems like they have a lot of chemistry,
Hmm. Hmm.
already. And so,
Definitely.
people are gonna come to see that that trailer was
Loved it.
brilliant, right? At the end
Yeah.
where, she draws the smiling face and
Oh,
he
man,
matches up.
yeah.
That's
That was
excellent.
awesome. That's
Yes.
like I love cinematography, right? And
Mhm.
so Todd Phillips, I'm becoming a fast fan of his,
Mm, yeah.
and just that's just really creative, right?
Yeah,
Use
yeah.
of a shot.
It's
Yeah.
creative, it's beautiful, and it says so much with so little, like, no dialogue. It's all
Mhm.
visually told, and I'm like, I'm in, sign me up, I wanna go see that movie.
Yeah, and then Zaslav lucked into that one, right? So it's like because that was in production while he was moving, his furniture in, and so
Yeah.
um, you mentioned that film's coming up again. This is Warner Brothers is on a hot streak this
Yes.
year, and they may have the biggest box office of the year. I know Universal has Despicable Me film coming out, and
Mhm.
it's not a lot of other big like even Marvel moved all their movies out of this year, just except Deadpool.
Okay.
Warner Bros has a big shot, and also coming up. We're going to talk about Furiosa in a moment, but
Mhm.
the Beetlejuice sequel,
Oh,
they have
yes.
high hopes for
Mm,
that as well.
yeah. I'm really anticipating that one,
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
think a
So
lot of people are. A lot of people are.
yeah, you mentioned that model. Again, spending like 150 million, and just trying to get a profit off of it.
Yeah.
They're onto something, folks. That's all I
Yeah,
can say.
yeah.
Uh,
I mean, you
yeah.
really I think that to spend up to 30 million is really on the low end, but if you have a movie that's really
Mhm.
doesn't need it, yeah, that 30 million would be fine, to about
Mhm.
130 million. And I
Mhm.
think you should stay in that bracket because when you have the bloatedness of a $200 million movie, the expectation is so high and high
Mhm.
to reach with marketing and all that other stuff.
Yep.
Much better to have a lower budget and then work your way up, to gain it back.
Exactly. Exactly.
Hmm.
That's
Hmm.
the blueprint, and Zazav is running it. And that's him smiling. That's not that's he's
Is the
not
one
upset.
that is this the one where he says everything's for sale?
Yeah, yeah, it actually is. Technically, everything is for sale. And so with Zaza, we were talking about the Furiosa film
Oh,
as
yes.
well, and I will tell you, like retro. I wonder your
Hmm.
thoughts on this. I'm a George Miller fan, right? He's a
Hmm.
director of this and the previous Mad Max film. Obviously, he gets a lot of praise and everything, and me personally, maybe I got on the Mad Max train a little late, and with the whole
Hmm.
Furiosa thing. But the more I'm, learning about this film and seeing about this film, I'm a fan of Anna Taylor Joy. I'll give it that. for
Oh yeah.
sure. Chris Hemsworth is I guess, the villain in this film. So that's an interesting role for him.
Yeah.
Um, Hype level for this? Were you into this franchise
Oh.
prior to this retro?
Um, no, actually, I respect it. I respect it.
Hmm.
But it wasn't really like fully something I was into. But
Hmm.
probably the only one of the the movies that I really like love is Thunderdome.
Hmm. I think everyone. That's the one with Tina Turner, right?
That's right, Auntie,
Yeah.
yeah, and so so I did love, that movie. I did have I did not see Fury Road, but I know that people really like the Furiosa character, and she
Hmm.
made a big impression among the fans. People thought that, Charlize, Theron was gonna actually reprise her role and
Right.
play the part. However, the decision was made to go younger, and so
Right.
I'm not sure if anyone has any feelings about that.
Hmm.
But I think Anna is quite a good match. I think she looks a lot like the character, and
Hmm.
I'm loving all of the visuals that I'm seeing so far. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
mm, the only thing I would have a problem with, or is probably deterring me from like taking this seriously, is the makeup for Chris Hemsworth. That nose is just I keep looking at it and going, "Hmm, who is that?"
That's not Thor, right? That's that would be interesting how, because that is going to be a pretty different role for him, and I just wonder, how that's going to come across.
Mhm.
Like you said, can we really take it seriously? But
Yeah.
George Miller, he's the type of director I feel like I could trust. Like we was talking about Joker a little while ago, and Todd Phillips, when early on people said, "Oh, it'll be like a musical,
Mhm.
full blown musical," and people were like, "Oh, hold on now, right?" But I was like, "Well, I trust Todd Phillips, right?" So
Yeah.
we'll see how he puts it together. So with this and George Miller, I'm gonna lean on, hey, he's gonna make something cinematic. Now with the Anna Taylor Joy making this a prequel, according to the recent CinemaCon, they said she's playing obviously Furiosa, but it's like different like stages in her life.
Mhm.
So I guess they wanted someone that can kind of arrange that out. I know there's a little ageism there, but but they wanted
Yeah.
someone to kind of arrange that out. And so,
It
but
makes
hey, at the
sense.
end of the day, yeah, yeah, it makes
Yeah.
sense.
It makes sense for the story that, George was wanting to make. And again, I would still love to see something with with that character, with Charlize, playing the role, but it's okay. If we're gonna get this character, we're gonna get her as a young woman. I right now I'm enjoying the visuals that we're seeing. I'm
Hmm.
liking her intensity in the character. She looks like she's fully on board doing and playing the character, and so
Hmm.
that's something I'm looking forward to.
Yeah.
Yeah, this has got a lot of, I would say my excitement level is at a 9.
Okay.
Mhm,
Exciting level, and
with one
mhm.
minor concern, and that is the nose.
That's the whole point. Chris Hemsworth, and they showed, I guess, extended, I don't know, clip or something of this film at
Mhm.
a CinemaCon in Vegas as well, and some rave reviews on the visuals, the
Oh, wow.
sound, and this is an article you kind of gave to me about
Mhm.
this action scene. They really are
Oh, yeah.
putting a lot into this, which I find interesting as well. And I go Anna committing. Do you remember seeing her in any kind of physical role like this before? I'm trying to think. She's
I
never
don't
really
think
gotten dirty like this.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think like,
Yeah.
she's always, kinda played the pretty girl.
Mhm.
Um
Yeah, she's always done up in her,
Yeah, yeah, the
in
the
most
pretty
of her
girl in the
roles.
film. But I've never seen her as sort of. I mean, she's absolutely drop dead gorgeous. Because how can you still be gorgeous with a face full of dirt and your hair? Like she's just gorgeous. So I think she's gonna do a great job.
Yeah.
She's not mugging for the camera. She's really looks like she's dedicated to the role, and
Mhm.
I think we're gonna
Yeah.
get a very interesting story. If not, if anything, we're gonna I think we're gonna be entertained.
Yeah, I think, like I said, the closer we get to it, the more I hear about the film.
Hmm.
Again, I'm just like you. I'm not like checking Mad Max news every day. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
oh, okay, that's out. Okay, I'll check it out, and I'm not
Huh.
being disappointed now. Well, Anna Taylor Joy, again, her as a performer, big fan of what she did in Split in that film back
Oh.
in the day, and she was in New Mutants. Probably the only good thing about that movie as well. So she's
Hmm.
done like different roles. I think Queen's Gambit is like what a lot of people know her from
Okay.
on Netflix and
Yeah.
things like that. But this sequence they're talking about, they're really committing to making this a pretty wild ride, as it says. We have the release date May 24th when this is coming. So we're a
Hmm.
month away. We're a month
Yeah.
away. Uh, when you mentioned this, and I was like, oh, I didn't even know about that as far as there was sequel ideas for A Knight's Tale. Director Brian uh, Helgeland
Hmm.
talked about how they pitched sequel ideas. Obviously, over the years it would have been without Heath Ledger.
Yeah, one of the things I think they said was that it was the main character was going to be his daughter,
Mhm.
Ledger's character's daughter. And I think also too, with our society the way it is, where there's sort of a pushback right now of too many, strong female characters that are kind
Hmm.
of like the main protagonist from almost like 90% of the stories now being released from Hollywood. And
Mhm.
people are just sort of saying, okay, hey, we kind of want a little bit more equality when it comes to our, people on screen. And
Hmm.
so, as far as like protagonists are concerned. And so, yeah, this one is fascinating to me. Like, I mean, what do you think about their choices for getting
Mhm.
algorithms and or figuring out which movies they're going to greenlit light?
Yeah, that is interesting. Like you said, it's definitely some type of formula that they go by. Now with this Knight's Tale, if most people don't know, it was a jousting film, right? And
Yes.
I wonder, like this idea is talking about, like you mentioned,
Oh,
the character would have been a teenage daughter
yeah.
learning how to joust. She tracks down a gang. They agree to teach her how to joust, but she has to hide who she is.
Yes.
She cuts her hair short and speaks with a deep voice, etc. This sounds like Milan. This sounds like how many
Yes.
times we've seen the trope, right?
Yes. Yes.
That's probably why Netflix was like,
I get you. Yes. Okay. Totally true. Because when I was reading this up part, I was laughing the whole time. I was like,
and Sony
yeah.
even jumped in and they said, well, they jumped to Sony saying, hey, pitch to Sony. It seemed like they were making it with Netflix, so this was kind of like a partnership thing that Sony
Mm,
seemed has the rights.
yes.
And they said that basically, if Netflix, if you kind of pick up most of the costs here, and Netflix was like, heck no, basically, it's what happened with that overall.
Yeah.
That story
So
concept didn't jive.
this really dispels the rumor that Netflix will just greenlight anything,
Oh,
doesn't it?
there we go. There, I knew it was a
Right?
purpose for this story. There we go. There was
They
that.
don't just greenlight anything. Even though A Knight's Tale was very popular back in the day, and a lot of people have fond memories of that movie, and the nostalgia, they didn't greenlight this. This is very,
Mhm.
very interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that is interesting. Now, yeah, it's some kind of quality control there, and especially now because I'm sure uh, Helgland, he was talking about like in the past with Netflix.
Mhm.
Currently, with Dan Lin coming in taking over Netflix film from Scott Stuber, they even want to kind of watch the budgets even more now.
Yes.
But that fits franchises like Rebel Moon, for the Snyder fans out there. But so that's all good. But for everyone else, you got to have a pretty compelling story. And again, just based off, and this is the director saying what the story was, I'd see why Netflix passed on that, to be quite honest. So, a lot of people will not pass on the Deadpool and Wolverine.
Oh,
This
yes.
new trailer, right, dropped, and there, I tell you, the hype level. Obviously, I watch a lot of CBM geek stuff, and with this being like the premier summer, you know, CBM of this
Oh, yeah.
year, uh, hype levels all over the place with this one,
Oh, yeah.
retro. And did you check out the new trailer?
Yes, I did, and it was really, really good. At first I was looking at it and I was kind of like, "Huh, you know, this might have a chance of being actually decent." Um, and lately, unfortunately, a lot of Disney, Marvel projects have been just completely failures, unfortunately. I hate to say that.
No, that's
But
right.
even with myself, I'm usually very, very forgiving of a lot of the things. And
Mhm.
I could even just tell by the poster for some of these projects that they just didn't have the creativity behind them. One thing I have to say about this is that the trailer doesn't did not appear to me to be a whole bunch of scenes cut together, which I notice from a lot of
Mhm.
other movie trailers from Disney MCU stuff. Um, seems to be like, let's get all of the action moments
Right.
and kind of
Okay.
piece them together and put a popular song in front of it, and that'll be fine. Now, this does use the trope of having the popular song by Madonna,
Mhm.
but it also has it tells a story. It tells a story of a man who is now chosen to do something with. We're not quite sure exactly what he's doing, but he has to save the
Mhm.
world. But in order to do that, he needs to find this Wolverine, or get this Wolverine on board. And by the end of the trailer, they at first they're fighting each other, and then by the end they're friends, they're
Mhm.
buddy cops, and it
Right.
just is sort of puts a smile on your face, and you're like, I want to see that movie. It gives
That's
you
interesting. Mhm.
a complete arc for right inside the trailer, and tells a story that you want to see. That's why I think this may get a lot of people to see what it is right off the bat. People are going to be curious about seeing this movie. It's getting people
Because
through the door.
prior to this retro, how much of a fan of like the Deadpool franchise were you? Because the Ryan Reynolds, like I think he's definitely sell like he's can sell these films. He's very
Mhm,
just hilarious and just charismatic and everything. And
mhm.
it's just like whatever made the first couple films successful.
Yeah.
They're like dialing it up times 10. Adding Wolverine, to it as well.
Well, I have a confession to make. I
Mhm.
haven't seen any of the Deadpool movies, which I'll have to see before I see this one. But here's what I
Yeah.
did see. I did see Wolverine Origin, that movie. To have the context of their relationship in the past, and
Gotcha.
what it
Okay.
what it what it kind of means, for them to kind of work together now, the animosity between the two, and the sort of the difference between Wolverine and Deadpool. And of course, within a lot of within the zeitgeist, Deadpool is sort of one of those things where everyone knows about Deadpool. Everybody knows his backstory. Everybody
Mhm.
has seen at least like 20 to 30 clips of all of the movies because he's so dynamic as a character. So I am very well versed in Deadpoolese, if you will.
Definitely, definitely. Yeah, I think, yeah, like I said, Ryan Reynolds, he's hilarious. I think you'll definitely love the first one, I think, if
Mhm. Oh,
that'll
yeah,
be
I
a
think I am
definitely.
gonna love them both. Yeah, it's
Mhm.
just a matter of seeing all the things ever.
Now, you mentioned leading up to this, because with Marvel, it's been a little rough patch after Infinity War and Endgame.
Oh, big.
And they definitely need a hit right now. I'm just gonna pull this up real quick.
Oh,
The phase
oh, nice.
four, what came, and this is all the stuff that came, after. But we're on
Oh,
phase five now.
wow. Yes.
But so with four, it was really hit or miss, right? Like
Mhm.
obviously Spider-Man was huge.
Yeah.
Uh Doctor Strange, were you I for some reason, though Doctor Strange was very successful, did I saw a lot of mixed views off
Yeah,
that
there
Doctor
were
Strange.
so, just to let you know, I don't get to go to a lot of movies being out in outer space here.
Mhm.
I have to, I can see a few movies, but not all of them.
Right.
But, um,
You didn't miss
I
much with this one.
well, yeah, I am very, like I said, I'm very versed in all of these movies and what people thought of them. I follow the procession of what critics are saying. And yes, Multiverse of Madness, there was a dissatisfaction from a lot of people. And even though it was directed by the legendary Sam Raimi, people were
Mhm.
disappointed with him too, and I'm like, "No, not my," I'm kind of surprised
Right.
there's so much animosity or so much displeasure with Sam Raimi. I thought, I think he's fantastic. But I think people tolerated, went to the theater to see it, but honestly, they were already, like, checked out because of
Mm,
certain things that happened in the story with Wanda in particular, and her
mhm,
character.
mhm,
Um, Ant-Man didn't, kind of Ant-Man, and the,
mhm.
Quantumania didn't help matters at all. Um, it didn't, and then Black Panther kinda was another thing that kind of made people very, very unhappy. Again,
Mhm.
even though these movies made a lot of money, and I think
Yeah.
they made a lot of money because they are part of the MCU, this huge franchise. People want to see them. So we're talking about Doctor Strange, Thor, Love and Thunder, another one
Mhm.
heavily
That was terrible.
criticized, yeah.
Yeah,
Heavily
that
Bat
was
Black
terrible.
Panther 2, Quantumania, people generally, on the most part, loved Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I hardly heard anything. Marvel's, that one in particular, um, like, just from looking at the poster for
Mhm.
the Marvels, I could tell that it was not going to be like, just the
It's off the
poster,
poster.
just the poster. Like, they didn't care about that movie, and that was, really a big problem. Like, I'm pretty certain if I see the Marvels, I'm probably gonna enjoy it on some silly level because I love,
I
movies
I
in
actually
general.
think you would. I actually think you would like. It's on Disney Plus now, but I
Mhm.
think you would like it. Actually,
Yeah,
it's
I
not
think I
that
would
bad.
like it because it's a but on this at the same time, I'm definitely honest about what what I was witnessing, and I
Mhm.
was like, just even the poster, you've got to be able to pull people and get them in the seats, and that's
Right.
what they fail to do. They fail to get people in the seats for that
Yeah.
movie,
Yeah.
and
Definitely.
of course, Blade is like it's still in production hell. Like, when are we gonna get Blade?
Yeah, just to update people because I know they're gonna. This is a kind of an old list. They're like, well, wait a minute, Blade has been pushed back. So yeah, Blade. They are just to update. I feel someone typing a comment right now. They're going to go into production later this year. It's supposed to be on schedule to be released November 2025, and then Fantastic Four is in production. That's supposed to come out next summer,
Yes.
2025 as well. So that those push back, but like you said, you mentioned a couple films up here that just, again, kind of a hit or miss thing.
Yeah.
Guardians 3 is deemed successful. I still gotta rewatch that one. I don't know, it didn't hit me the first time, but
Yeah.
it made it some money. But like you said, it's more, hit or miss than anything. Now this is kind of an updated list, but still some
Okay.
probably mistakes when people
Oh.
point out to me
Mhm.
later. But but as far as this is
Oh
phase
boy.
5. So that
Yeah.
started with the Ant-Man Quantumania. We
Yeah.
got the Guardians. So we're at the point where again they got to still make Blade.
Yeah.
Daredevil should be huge, but as far as theaters, Captain America 4, Thunderbolts. Uh,
People
the
are
point,
not excited about those so far.
right? The point is, you kind of need Deadpool and Wolverines. The point that I'm illustrating with that, you
Yeah.
need
Yeah.
the film to be pretty big.
Yeah, you do need it to be really good. I really hope it is good. I hope that it's not too much pressure for it to be
Mm-hmm.
amazing. Because I notice a lot of people are very, at this point, are more critical than usual.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's just being burned by movies they thought that was going to be incredible, and it turned out to be okay. And they're looking for a lot more. We are working hard every day to be able to afford the pleasure of going to the movies, and so when you go to the movies, you do want that hype to meet up
Yeah.
to where you are.
It's got to be worth, the price of admission.
Yes.
People are, trying to, get theaters to come back and hype up, but you need good films for that. You need,
Yeah.
you know, um, events. That's what Marvel was used to be known for, is these event type films, and they just kind of got a little lazy,
Well, here's
recently.
the thing, I was doing some research into into Paramount Pictures, and Paramount Pictures was the one who handled all of the earlier movies
Mm,
for the MCU. And so it's like, oh, so even Disney just came in and bought the company, but then
just went downhill from there.
yeah, it's like, oh my goodness. I think they were able to facilitate it to like the next level of the evolution it
Mhm.
needed to go. But I think that base level is where it's like, okay, we're starting over. They basically had to start over after the Avengers Endgame.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
so,
I had no
and
ideas after that.
yeah, it's just been confusion. Who is on the team? Who are we fighting against? Like, what is going on? So that separation, having all of these separate stories that don't seem to feel connected at all, is really where people are saying, what happened to our illustrious story that made us watch every single movie because we had to see the connections, you know?
Mhm.
So, and
Yeah.
that's all gone now. We've got different parts. One thing I have to say that's really cool in this Wolverine, Deadpool Wolverine movie is that they have. I don't know if you were able to catch this, but Ant-Man. Um, he became like a big character. He's the big
Yeah,
Ant-Man,
the
and
giant
they
man, yeah.
yeah, and they have a home actually inside of his skull.
Yeah, isn't that wild? I was like,
I'm like, "This
yo,
is Disney? Oh, no. This is crazy."
that's pretty different.
Yes, very
Definitely
dark.
unexpected. In that in that trailer, they definitely flashed some interesting combination of characters there. And as far as what I was told, that's kind of foreshadowing how they're gonna, in a sense, reboot the MCU, bringing things that they want to keep, kind of
Mhm.
discarding what they don't want to keep. So this Deadpool Wolverine film is like really key to the future, of
Yeah,
Marvel. Which
yeah.
can't believe that we're saying that, but that's
What I do also like about this is that they do feature the time variant association is that and
TVA. Yeah,
yeah, TVA, and you don't have to watch Loki to figure out what's going on.
I think they're gonna just explain it pretty quick too. As soon as they grab Deadpool and then they
Uh-huh.
just kind of run the rules to him real quick. And yeah, so people probably was thinking, oh, now I gotta go watch 2 seasons of Loki,
You don't. Yeah,
and
you
all the
don't.
Deadpool and all the Wolverine. It's like,
Yeah,
no,
even though I
I got that.
enjoyed look, I did watch Loki and I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
You don't have to watch Loki.
Mm.
If you want to watch the first episode, maybe, but you don't even have to.
That's and see, I would say, yeah, if you feel like you have to get something of the TVA,
Yeah,
the episode 1 of season 1 is a
yeah.
nice rundown, just
Brief
general.
and yeah, brief introduction. And
Mhm.
I think this is really exciting me. I think this is going to do well. I hope it does well, actually. I mean, for the sake
Yeah.
of for the MCU, because it look at the end of the day, these are movies that are entertaining people. And I just want everybody to be happy, and get some
Mhm.
good
Mhm.
content.
Yeah, well, there's always gonna be a certain subsection that's, gonna not like something and talk about it every day. But I am looking forward to, yeah, just enjoying this event film, and I think it's gonna be hilarious.
Think so too.
And we kind of deserves like a good Marvel
Yes.
film, you know.
Yes, I think that's it. The audience really deserves it. They've been beat up. Suffered through like Secret Invasion. We've suffered
Oh
through
my goodness. Oh man, Secret
She-Hulk,
Invasion.
and we watched all those and Echo, and we watched all those
Mhm.
because we thought they were going to add up to like what we're going to be seeing on the big screen. And
Secret
so
Invasion, man. I want my money back from this somehow. Like I get it's so bad. Like
your
me being
time
in
back.
Eastern Standard Time. Yeah, it's like I always stay up and watch everything when I probably shouldn't at times. And I was, staying up each week feeling like this pain of watching Secret. I was like, maybe it'll get better, maybe. Then that finale just was like a middle finger to me. Like,
Oh yeah,
take that for your
yeah.
time.
Same thing with She-Hulk. I mean, they had a
Oh
story going, and then at the last episode, they were like, "Yep, and we nothing to see here. There isn't really a story to follow," and
yeah, I'm
that
glad I
really
bailed
pissed
on
me
that
off.
one. Yeah,
Yeah.
after I saw how they was treating Daredevil, I was like, I'm just gonna kind of wait and see. I just kind of stopped, and then I think I watched the finale like a few weeks after that. But and after she like walks, well, she was breaking the fourth wall. She like stepped out of the Disney Plus menu. I just like turned it off. I was like, nah, this is
Oh
a
no, they
joke. This
lost
is a
you,
joke.
huh?
Yeah, I was like, this is a joke.
Yeah.
You
It
gotta take
was
your
it
black
was a
time
joke.
seriously.
Yeah, yeah, it was a joke. I do too feel like with She-Hulk, like I want my time back. And Echo was one of those things. The expectation was so high. It was R-rated. Oh, this is gonna be so good, and it was a little bit awful. There was some cool things about it,
Mhm.
like all the
Um,
cultural stuff was really cool.
there
But
was
man,
some moments. I would say the first episode, which was really kind of like a montage episode, that was
mhm,
good. The Daredevil
yeah,
shows up and jumps around a little bit, and then
he jumps around.
after you get to episode 2, I'm just like, okay, where's Kingpin?
Yeah.
And then he's kind of moping the whole time. It just
Then he comes back with like a computerized yeah, no. That one was like, yeah. At the end,
yeah.
you got the grandma with superpowers.
Oh my god!
Did you remember?
That's how you just totally just take me out of things because it's like when you if you want me to take the project seriously, right? It's like come on now. That's
Yeah.
just like in the I'm talking about DC, the Blue Beetle film,
Mm.
um, where it's like I don't mind the whole family thing to it, but then they like give grandma like a machine gun. It's like I'm supposed to take this seriously. I'm not
Oh,
supposed to take this seriously, right?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah, I haven't
Yeah,
seen
that's
it
pretty
yet, so I guess I'll have to.
bad.
Um,
Probably not. You probably don't have to see that one, but
I don't have to see that
um,
one. Okay.
but very interesting topics that was chosen for this week. We're gonna try to make this a regular thing, kind of round up a lot of film
Okay.
and pop culture topics as well, and have a little fun with it as well. So I will encourage those watching this because it's going to premiere, and I'll try to be in the chat when I premiere, but we'll see how that goes. But I want to suggest that people leave some feedback and questions. Maybe you have questions for Retro, and we can
Yeah.
consider them on next week's episode.
Ooh.
That as well. So
Questions for retro. Yay.
there we go. Hey, things just happen. It just happens. So, questions for Retro next week.
Okay.
For
And we need a hype meter too.
hype meter, okay, hype meter. Now we're asking for a lot now. We try to get this question segment. Need a hype meter too.
Yeah. What's your
We're
hype
doing a
level?
lot. What's hype level? Yeah, probably like for each topic because it'll be time stamped. It should be by the time y'all see this, and yeah, hype level. Definitely nice to get a wide range of topics, and like I said, it'll be some cool updates when we get all this film news in the future. So, so we're gonna go on head on out of
Mhm.
this one for myself, sylabdul, Retro Nerd Girl, the co-host. Questions for Retro next week
Oh yeah.
for film and pop culture news weekly.